God for the gift of music from our own. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for making this annual conference for me a really memorable one and a great one for me, and forgiving my rookie bishop mistakes, one of which was to not adjourn you properly. And so I would ask today, at this end of this worship service, that we adjourn the 136th Annual Conference of the Pacific Northwest Conference. Won't enter into parliamentary procedure, but your affirmation was a good one to close. If you don't want to close, you may meet in the hall of the for as long as you want. And please elect your own bishop for that particular. I usually start with a joke, and to spoof my own role, there is this one about the 3 Roman Catholic priests whose mothers were engaged in a little one-up relationship. And the first mother says to the other 2, "My son's an archbishop, and when he enters the room, the people say, 'Your Excellency.' Second mom counters, 'My son's a cardinal, and when he enters the room, the people say, 'Your Eminence.'" Not to be outdone, the third one says to the other 2, "Well, my son is 6 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 300 pounds, was a defensive tackle for Notre Dame, and when he enters the room, the people say, 'Oh my God.'" Now, prior to being in this new role with you, I was, for a very short time, a recovering district superintendent, as which Ron will soon be. I didn't get a chance to live into that role. Certainly didn't get a chance enough time to use it in introductions to get a laugh. Most of my professional life, I've been trying to analyze our United Methodist Church and figure out how to stem the tide of our membership losses. Statistics are truly revealing, and hopefully we'll have on the screen one confronting our brutal facts from Jim Collins, and that is our membership decline in the Pacific Northwest Annual Conference. From 1983 to 2007, we have some key statistics for you. And we'll bring this up. In terms of membership, from 83, we have declined 26,041, 32%. In average attendance, we've declined in those years 7,456 members, 24%. And this is the one that really hits in my heart like a dagger. Our professions of faith have dropped from 83 to 2007, 1,134, a 53% drop in the key indicator of a growing church, and that is bringing new people into the church. Now, these are not foreign statistics to any annual conference, folks. The whole connection is facing similar decline. In the CalPAC conference, where I served most of my career, they have this same statistics, and they're even worse than ours in percentages. But listen to this. Bishop Gerald Kennedy was the icon of evangelism and church growth. And Bishop Kennedy had this goal before he retired that he would have 100 churches with 1,000 members or more. And when he retired in 1972, he had almost reached his goal. He had 98 churches with 1,000 members or more. Guess how many churches CalPAC now has with 1,000 members or more? 6. They went from 98 to 6 in 30 years. So the agenda on my mind has been, how do we turn ourselves around and begin this growth and this vitality that we so desperately want? In many ways, consultant Gil Rendell sums up our dilemma well when he said, "How do you build the new prison using the old prison bricks without losing the prisoners?" Now, bad analogy. I know. I've been playing with nursery schools and Sunday schools, but you get his point. district clergy meeting, I reminded them of Stephen Covey's illustration that cited the Harris poll over 24,000 full-time U.S. workers. And we'll pull this one up too. Only 37% of full-time U.S. workers said they had a clear understanding of what their organization is trying to achieve and why. Only 1 in 5 were enthusiastic about their team or organization's goals. Only half were satisfied with the work they had accomplished at the end of the week. Only 15% felt that their organization fully enabled them to execute key goals. Only 10% felt that their organization holds people accountable for results. And only 20% fully trusted the organization they work for. Now, Covey reminds us that if these figures were transferred to a normal soccer team, only 4 of 11 players on the field would know which goal is theirs. Only 2 of the 11 would care. Only 2 of the 11 would know what position they play and know exactly what their role was and what they're supposed to do. And all but 2 players would in some way be competing against their own team members rather than the opponents. Sort of reminds me of the basketball game yesterday. Even the refs weren't for any team. They were confused. So today, I want to make it clear where I wish to head, and hopefully excite you with some clear marching orders of what would maybe motivate us all for this coming year. As I reflected on this dilemma, I've returned to the wisdom of the late Bishop Edwin C. Bolton, whose sermon at the 1996 General Conference has stayed with me all of these intervening years. Bishop Bolton began that sermon in an autobiographical way. He said, "Some of us do not get around with the same agility as others. We are said to have handicapping conditions. Because I've limp rather convincingly, the state of Ohio has given me a little blue plastic logo which sits on the dashboard of my car, clearly visible for all to see. It sets me apart as a privileged driver, and I rarely miss the chance to remind passengers that there are advantages to riding with me. I get to park up close legally." He continued, "Since the onset of this thorn in my flesh, several years ago, I have become aware of a form of original sin previously unknown to me. It is that some drivers advertise their unlicensed handicap condition as they whip into those blue-painted wheelchair logo places that are supposed to be reserved. They dash into a nearby store with kangaroo-hopping athleticism, and in doing so, they proclaim for all the world to see that their handicapping condition is not the same as mine, but is incredibly acute nonetheless." Then comes the bishop's revelation. United Methodist Church, in particular in the United States, is consistently parking illegally. That is to say, our church applied for and it has been granted a blue badge with which we use with some justification an appropriate squeamish guilt. We applied for this badge because the memory we have of our glorious history and our anxiety over an uncertain future. We've heard the voices of lament from within the church, not a few shrill cries from the outside, most of which have a common theme: a vivid recall of triumphant yesterdays and a litany of our current ailments. There are those who say, "We can't walk without a cane. We can't run anymore. We're incontinent, and we don't go to fancy restaurants lest we spill food on our bibs." Bishop Bolton included his opening section of this. Now, if you've got to park in the blue, do it. Just dab on it anyway, don't feel sorry for